Hey, I'm Becca with the Happy Ever Crafter, and in this lesson we're going to take the peonies that we learned in this previous video and turn them into a composition that would fill the corner of a page. Let's jump right in. For tools for this video, I have 3 micron pens. I have size 1, 3, and 5. If you don't have micron pens, or if you only have one size of pen, that's totally fine too. Don't worry too much about it, as long as you have something that can write. And then I have a pencil, an eraser, and some white paper. Again, the brands don't matter. Anything you have is totally fine. So if you haven't seen the previous video where I walk you step by step through how to draw peonies, you're going to want to watch that one first, because in this video, I'm just going to show you how to put them into a composition, but I'm not walking you through how to draw the flower itself. So make sure you've seen that one first and then come back to this when you're ready. The first thing we're going to do is lay out with pencil the general shape of the composition we're going to do. So we're going to fill the bottom corner of a page, and this is really a nice layout that you can use if you do calligraphy or lettering, because you can put your flowers in the corner and then add a quote in the top. So all you're going to do is take your pencil and draw some light circles for the shape of the peonies that you want. So you're going to do some bigger, some smaller, and generally try and think of them in groups of uneven numbers. So 3, 5, 7, that kind of thing. It generally just makes your composition look more natural. So I'm going to start with my biggest one in the bottom corner here, not all the way squished into the corner, but almost. And it's going to be just a light circle. And then I'm going to add a smaller one, kind of coming off, maybe even overlapping a little bit higher up to the right. And maybe one a little to the left of that. Again, a smaller one. Then I think I'm going to do another fairly large one here. And because now we have 4 circles, I'm going to add one smaller one in this bottom corner. So you can see how I'm sort of framing the edge of that corner, and when we add leaves to it, it'll add it up the side a little bit more here too. So now that I've got my general outline, I'm going to jump in with my size 3 micron pen. Again, if you haven't seen the peony video, make sure you've seen that first, because this is going to overwhelm you if not. So I'm going to start with my biggest peony and then work my way to the smaller ones. One thing to note as you're doing this is if you get to a point where you're feeling like you want to rotate your paper, don't worry about doing that. You can totally rotate it. I'm just trying to keep mine in the same position because it's easier for the video. But if you feel like it's easier for you to draw on an angle, don't worry about that. It also helps because you want to try and keep your flowers not all pointing in the same direction. So if you're used to drawing them facing one way, then rotating your paper will help you change the angle of it. So because I have this flower pointing out this way, I want the next one to point in a different direction. Okay, so now I've got my base of flowers drawn, and I'm gonna add in some greenery and some berries. And again, I have a video on that. If you haven't seen it, make sure you check it out before you jump into this part. So I'm essentially just going to look for the gaps in all of these spaces and fill them in with leaves and vines and different berries. And so in this one, I'm going to add some longer vines with longer leaves and then some shorter leaves to fill in some other gaps, and add in some pretty berries and buds where I want to. So first I'm going to do kind of the bigger groupings of leaves. What I like to do on layouts like this one that are really close to the corner too is I don't worry too much about my leaves running off the page, because I find it really kind of frames the page nicely. So you'll see on this leaf, for example, it's not finished, it's running right off the page, and I kind of like that. So don't worry if that happens to you. You also want to notice that some of the leaves are going to run behind the flowers, and just keep in mind that that's going to happen as you're drawing. So now I've got all my leaves in, I'm going to start adding some berries. And this is totally personal preference. This is going to look pretty full at this point, so if you feel like that's as far as you want to go and you don't want to make it more cluttered, that's fine too. I just think berries are cute, and I'm going to add just a couple. Okay, so now I've got my basic outline of the drawing done. And at this point, I usually kind of like squint at it and see if there's any open spots that look weird, and I would add some more berries or some more leaves in those spots. But I'm happy with the way this looks, so I'm gonna erase all of my guidelines. And now I'm gonna switch to my size 1 pen and start adding the details in the flowers and the leaves. Okay, the details are added and now it sort of looks like a big jumbly mess. So we're gonna take the biggest pen, the 0.5 micron, and add some contrast. So I'm gonna go around all the petals of the flowers and the outside and the middle line of all the leaves. Okay, so all that's left to do at this point would be to look over it and see if there's any blank spots you want to fill in, if you wanted to add anything. But I'm actually really happy with the way this looks, and I think that's all I'm going to add for this. So hopefully you found that helpful, and make sure that you check out the rest of this series because I've done lots of different flowers and a couple different types of compositions as well. So you can start with this video here, and make sure you subscribe to this channel because I release 2 new tutorials every single week. And I'll see you next time.